Hi, I'm host Eric. Welcome to Talking to Famous People. I'm here with famous people Alex, Pile Skies, JC, Lorenz Walker, Robert, and we are going to talk about a couple. First, I want to talk about one, but Alex presented two very interesting topics, and I want to talk about the other one as well. But let's first talk about this primary tertiary loop, which he suggested as a topic. And the primary tertiary functions for the INTP are going to be TI and FE, right?
SI.
SI. SO, the third. Third is tertiary?
Yes.
Oops. Yeah, third is tertiary. Right, okay. I knew that. I totally knew that. All right. For me, then, it's going to be NEFE. That loop. Okay, I got you. And for you, what's it going to be, JC?
SETE.
SETE. Okay. So it sounds like we're saying, is there a bad bit of code that happens sometimes where your TI and SI, my NE and FE, her SE and TE interact with each other in a way that is icky?
Yes, and hard to break away from.
Okay, and stubbornly icky.
Yeah. There you go. Stubborn leaky. That's a good way of putting it.
Okay, so can you please describe this loop as you experienced it, Alex, and then we'll get feedback from the other INTPs and see if they agree with your depiction of it.
It's always, whenever I get captured in this loop, it's always from a negative emotional perspective, I guess you could say. And then when I start thinking about it, TI is looking at the SI function of actual memory of what things happened, and it just goes, well, how come it happened that way? And TI is trying to investigate it and dissect it and understand what happened, and so it becomes a thought pattern that's difficult to get out of, just because NE's just sitting over on the side going, well, what if you had done this? What would have happened? If you do this other thing, what would have happened? Well, what would happen with all these other possibilities within that negative loop?
Oh, now you guys look over there.
Along for the ride.
Right? It's going,
right.
Oh, now you look over there. Now look over there.
Yeah. And oh, you forgot to look at this part. Look at this other thing over here that happened. And if thing A and then thing B happened, well, if you had done B differently, then all these other different possibilities could have happened. And it's very, very difficult, or I find it very difficult, to break myself out of that loop mentally. And about the only thing I've found that works, which is, I guess, kind of odd for an INTP, is doing something physically. Go ride my bicycle or ride a motorcycle, get out in the world, look at and try to engage what little bit of SE I have is the only way I can break loose of it. And I was kind of curious if other types have that sort of problem and those sort of issues.
Questioning system from within the system, she says. Well, I would say that would make a lot of sense that would be a tough one to get out of, because, of course, you can't resolve the past by going through conditionality webs about what would have happened if you had behaved differently, because even if you come out with it, even if you come up with a like the right thing to have done, I've processed all the possible variables that could possibly have happened in the past, and I have determined I should have done X. It still doesn't really do you any good. What do you do with it then? You know, I mean, you try to apply it to next time, but the process of going through all those variables will take you forever. So that makes sense why it would be something you get stuck in. So, any other INTPs want to chime in on the TI-SI loop?
I feel as though I experience the loop, but I haven't really identified it when I'm in the loop.
Is it something you recognize from the description, though, as something that maybe you weren't aware of but were experiencing in the past? Or is it maybe... Yeah. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
JC, do you want to talk about how that might... Do you have anything... Oh, wait, hold on. Boss Guy says, others should be able to break by doing opposite... By doing opposite what?
To the third
function. Like I was talking about, where I have to use SE, but I can completely understand where Lauren's is coming from because I used to be that way until I really understood. It took a real dark walk for me once upon a time to where before I understood that movement and getting out and doing something, engaging that SE would break the loop for me. And I didn't understand I didn't know anything about NTBI back then. It was just I understood if I get in this mind state where I'm churning over the same thing again and again and again, the only way I can break it is through physical action.
Do you think that this loop causes harms in the domain of the fourth function?
Say that one more time.
Do you think this 1-3 loop causes, in other words, excluding 2, is basically like getting rid of 2, right? Like let's not let 2 play, and then you end up doing harms in your fourth function domain, is my momentary notion.
Oh yes, yeah, I believe that wholly because I think it affects me later on in my engagement of trying to develop my FE, because typically where I get in that loop from is due to emotional things. It's very rarely mental things. So maybe FE has to play into it a little bit, but the next time a situation comes around, even could be taking that chance is difficult to do because I think, well, I got in that shitty state for a period of time or whatever.
JC, what's your fourth function again? NI, right?
NI, yeah.
Okay. So if this notion here is correct, I've got a little chart for us to look at. You see? You guys see that? If you don't use the second one, then you fuck up in the fourth one. So for you guys, it's TISI. For me, it's NEFE causes harms in SI, and SETE would cause harms in NI for JC. You can't see that? I thought that was pretty clear. No? Okay.
It's blurry.
All right. Well, here okay, fine. I'll make it big. I'll make a big one. Each type will get its own piece of paper. And I'll use this big Sharpie. Sharpie. All right. So INTP. Ow.
It's kind of cool how the loop has like an answer, like just stuck in the SI or TISI loop, then doing something more SE related to help you break through. I want to see if it holds true for other types.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of interested in here.
I'm trying to figure out if that holds true for me. That being said, I'm not sure I've ever been in a loop. I'm trying to imagine what it would be like to ignore FI, to ignore like my internal values. I don't know if
Is FI your second? Is FI your second?
Yeah, FI is my second.
That's it. Well, that's one of the things. I would say that I don't know if the second function is necessarily not present because Alex had said that NE kind of backs up the TI-SI loop.
Yeah, kind of exit on. It's kind of like the disinterested bystander that wants to watch the car wreck.
I think SE and TE. I mean, I've read descriptions of the loop, and it's supposed to be like SE wants to experience and TE wants to do. So we're always doing and experiencing, and we go out and we, that's when you have like the stereotypical ESFP go and get drunk and have a whole bunch of sex and never sit still type of thing going on.
Okay, she said, I'm going to translate for you, okay? Because you're coming in really, really quiet. She said that the ESTP, you said, goes out and gets drunk and has sex, and they do this when they're in a, which loop?
SETE. It's like, it's supposed to be, I guess, experiencing and doing and just kind of doing whatever. I don't know. I don't really relate, so I was just like, whatever.
Okay. So then the question is, for me, the reason I think this idea is very appealing is, of course, if you think about it, this is what's happening to me all the time. Right? This is you guys, not me. Now,
Right.
X is used in some way. What exactly way that will be would have to be defined a little more carefully because, like you said, it's not absent, it's there, but it must be functioning in a way that's non-productive in some fashion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the comparable for me is going to be, I go NE and then FE, this NE-FE loop. Well, we're experiencing it right now. You know, I got all kinds of shit I should be doing besides having to go to meeting with you guys. But this is always, I can just dive right back into the NE-FE loop, and but you see, it's harmful in probably a slightly different way. I suspect. I suspect my loop's a lot more comfortable while I'm in it.
Hmm. Hmm.
The challenge for me is getting out of the comfortable loop, which I need to stop doing harms to my fourth domain.
Can you recognize when you're in that state?
Well, when I start really stressing about deadlines and shit looming that I haven't taken care of and bills to pay and stuff like that, and I start going like, I just fucking, I don't even care. I don't want to think about it. When I get to that point, then you know you are in full avoidance mode, and it's where I avoid. How do I avoid dealing with life for real? I go into NEFE loop. How do you avoid dealing with life for real if this model's right? Would be you go into TISI loop. How does JC avoid it? She goes into what did we say it was? Oh,
That is
SETE loop.
avoiding reality. That is an awesome way of putting that. I mean, when you said that, a light bulb is coming on ahead, and then really that's what the essence of it is it is trying to find some way to avoid that reality of that moment.
It's interesting. I think JC, you talked about not being able to conceive of being able to ignore your own feelings or have them absent. I think for you it would make sense that you're prioritizing you'd be like, for me it would be, I'm using my thinking in service of my third function payoff rather than my first function, or it's like my first and third, my first and second function are in service of my third function, basically.
I don't know. I just pulled it up, and it says something along the lines of SETE gets very judgmental because I guess it's stuck in TE bureaucratic ways and ignores FI because
Can you say it
they feel
loud?
like
Can you say it again, please? You're cutting out. Start back. Say again from that last couple sentences.
ignoring our personal like self-worth, I guess, and being more about outer standards, what other people think, I guess, or what society thinks.
Being more about your outer standards or what other people think or society thinks is what she said. It is a little frustrating, JC, but don't stress about it, okay? So, I mean, this idea makes a lot of sense to me. And I find it works. It resonates with my experience. I also know what it feels like to be in a TI-SI loop, which is awful. TI-SI loop is what I used to be in when I was an alcoholic, because I would just think about all the horrible things I've was doing and had done all the time. I just think about it all the time.
Mm.
With no progress, no NE, there's no possibility of change. All my NE was directed towards damage control and attempting to minimize probability of damage going forward. There's no positive projection of possibilities. And my TI was. I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
that sounds like the grip.
It sounds like the what?
Like SI grip, I guess, more? Would it be
SI
more like,
grip.
yeah, like
Being in the grip of your fourth function. Like that.
Yeah.
I think fourth function grip would be a good band name.
Fourth
That was.
function grip has always been easier for me to break out of because it's almost like my TI can be a hypervisor in that point, and it can let FE do stupid shit, but at a certain point, TI goes, all right, enough of this shit. Cut this crap off, move on. But
Yeah,
if
I
I get
mean,
in that
you got to be in a
primary
real.
tertiary,
You
you're
got to be
screwed. I'm
damaged.
screwed.
You got to be damaged to be down in that fourth one, right? And it'd be stuck down there because as human beings, we're meant to be able to pull out of that pretty easy. I think. I think the dangerous one is the 1-3 because that one feels better. But the 2-4, that was only possible for me to stay there for such a long time because I was consuming massive amounts of alcohol all the time. So I mean, under normal circumstances, I don't think I would get stuck in the in that 2-4 thing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess it's.
for INTPs, that 1-3 feels like shit. But the hard part is recognizing it. It's hard to understand. It's hard because we have such low FI. It's hard to understand or even recognize I'm in that state, and it usually takes somebody else saying something to me before I even recognize it. I'm just miserable and happy being miserable, but not happy. If that makes any sense at all, and so I can't even.
Yeah, it does. I know because what it feels like is it feels like this. Coach Abe arrives and I feel anxiety because I'm not attending to certain things adequately, and you know that's what this is. I'm experiencing it right now. I'm experiencing it right now. I'm avoiding shit. I don't know what to do about those fucking people in San Marino.
Yeah, and you'll pull something out of your ass right at the end, though, right?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like I think I've developed a good habit of feeling like I'm closer to the edge of the cliff than I actually am at all times. But I don't like to say that out loud because you
Right.
don't want to acknowledge that, unfortunately. Hi, Coach Abe. Oh, he's offline. Well, you're welcome to talk to me, Coach Abe. Yeah. He and I are having difficulties. He's really upset at me, but I know what it is. He's drawn conclusions about feeling related matters that are irrelevant and are he's inaccurately determined. He's made determinations about my feelings based on how I feel right now or something. But how I feel right now is irrelevant about my feelings large in long term sense. It's not a deciding factor
Yep.
for me. So he's like, I can tell you're feeling this way. Yeah, but that's not what I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, even if you're feeling that way, who gives a shit, right? You figure it out and move on.
All right, thanks for watching. Talking with famous people.